Ciao from Pietro, ciao from the limited edition. Is one of those days where we are really excited as the independents go live to introduce you to a new watchmaker, a new face that is not that new to those that actually are hardcore watchmaking fans, because the gentleman we're going to introduce today has been involved in some really, really interesting and ambitious projects in the past. And yeah, I have the pleasure today with my co-host, Johnny McElleron, the editor of the limited edition, to introduce you to Stéphane von Gunten from Haute-Rive. Haute-Rive is a new watchmaker, a new brand, if you like, that has been just recently introduced at Geneva Watch Days. So I should be able to show you Johnny's face straight away, and Johnny is going to guide me through seeing Stéphane directly live from Switzerland. I promise you, he's there.
Yes,
and you can see him. And you can see him now. Hi, Stéphane. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm still looking for documents because I was looking for old documents from Haute-Rive, you know, the foundation of the brand, and it's somewhere here inside, but it's not open. So I'm gonna check that during your talk.
Take your time, because Johnny, we have had a little bit of a tasting of what's going to happen in the next half an hour. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of progress of watchmaking at the same time, innovation. Stéphane is one of those characters that has on his back the responsibility for a lot, being his legacy, his family history, but also being his activity as a master watchmaker over the last 20 years.
For sure, yes. And Haute-Rive was one of the talking points of the recent Geneva Watch Days. It was everybody was anticipating the launch of this amazing, spectacular new watch, and so it was fantastic.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. You've got it. I've got it.
We read the same paper. We read the same paper. Yeah, same
original documents as well from my. That Fantastic. Was the rules in the company from Irene Aubry. The company Amazing. Was Haute-Rive, and this is the original rules of the company.
Well, we'll explain the story step by step. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Who was Irene Aubry?
Irene was the grandfather of my grandfather, and he was very famous at his time because he was the inventor of the Hebdomas pocket watch. This one.
Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Quick, we're straight into it this week, Pietro. Okay, yes, hold it there. That's beautiful.
Very
so
good.
Tell us a little bit about it, Stéphane.
That was an 8-day Port Reserve pocket watch. It was very famous. They were producing a lot of these watches. In the last century, about 1,000 watches per day with 1,000 workers in La Chaux-de-Fonds. And he was the inventor of that mechanism of the construction of the movement, and he made a patent for that. And then he sold the patent to two industrial men in La Chaux-de-Fonds who industrialized the movement and who were able to produce about 1,000 watches per day, as I said.
1,000 watches a day. That must make them one of the biggest producers in Chaux-de-Fonds at that time. This is back in the early 1900s, I think. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And when you see the building is still there in La Chaux-de-Fonds, and it's quite unbelievable to imagine there were about 1,000 workers in that building, because now there are only lofts inside, so it has been transformed for habitations, and it's almost impossible to imagine how many people there were working on that movement.
Wow,
it's one of the things that baffles me. Even where we are based here in the UK, we are in an historical building, Stéphane, and this is the ballroom actually where I'm in. As you can see, it's a Tudorian style, and it used to be a ballroom, and now obviously it's a completely different thing. But Stéphane, were you aware, because I know you were involved with Patek Philippe for a number of years at the beginning of the 2000s, and you actually contributed to develop the silicon technology for Patek Philippe, which is not not an easy task, I guess, Johnny. So following the footsteps of incredible watchmakers like Sven Andersen, Laurent Ferrier, that all gave contribution to Patek Philippe. At the time, did you know about your family legacy? Did you know about the achievements of your great grandfather?
No, not really. I've heard about the story, but I was not really concerned about it. I don't know why. Because maybe I was not enough experienced to understand how important it was for the industry at this time, you know. And I was more focused on technology, invention, technology. How can I say that project, but not really on the old watches at that time. Yes. Because, you know, I worked for an institute of microsystems, so it was really focused on the silicon fabrication. Plus, I've made my studies as a watchmaker, as an engineer for watchmaking. Then it was a good combination at that time to have both the technology aspects plus the standard watchmaking aspects. So it was a perfect time for Patek Philippe at that time, because we were involved in the project of the airspring, you know, the silicon airspring.
Yeah. So you were both. You have a formation as a master watchmaker as well as movement constructor as well, with your microengineering background.
In the past, it was called watch engineering, and now it's more micro technology engineering, but it's still linked to the watchmaking industry.
Amazing. So we're going to establish that link, Johnny, between why the legacy and the historical family thread is so important in Stéphane's story. But Johnny, what did you think about the Honoris one when you saw it? Did it spring to mind already this link to what could have been the past that speaks in this piece?
Well, Pietro, I've just put up an image of the two different versions which are currently available of Honoris one in yellow gold and one in white gold, both with Grand Feu enamel dials. And they are, when I say use the word spectacular, it's hard to find another word that's actually suitable, because there's the features are very, very pronounced on the dial side, and it shows off how this amazing watch works. And so we'll let Stéphane explain shortly, but there are a number of surprises in it. There's the mysterious flying tourbillon. There's that enormous barrel wheel on the dial side there, which is turned via the internal teeth on the bezel, because you turn the bezel to wind the watch and to adjust the time.
So if you thought that the Sky Dweller was the only one maneuverable from the bezel, now we have a masterpiece that actually takes some kind of that element. But Stéphane, nothing to do with the Sky Dweller, maybe a little bit to do with the Freak and Ulysse Nardin, where you were involved for a few years as well, if we're talking about the bezel construction and the concept behind the bezel.
Yes, sure. The point is that the torque in the mainspring is very high. It's about 1,500 millimeter. So I can tell you it's very stiff, okay? And they are to rewind. So if we had to rewind the mainspring thanks to the crown as a normal watch, it would have needed about maybe 500 to 1,000 turns of the crown. So that was too much, you know. So this is quite logical for me to use the bezel, the front bezel, to rewind the watch, because we have more torque in our fingers, you know, to rewind the watch. And then in that way, it will need less turns to completely get the full power reserve of the watch.
It's a very elegant solution, isn't it, to the problem of how do you wind it, and you've turned it into one of the main features, the main signatures of the Honoris one. It's
and probably we can illustrate it as well can we show how it would work, Stefan, without one of the tools that I know you have?
Yeah, maybe I can show you the spring first if you want, because it's quite. No, I'm gonna change the explanation because it's here in the newspaper, in the Haute-Rive newspaper. There is a cross section of the movement. I hope we can see that clearly here. Not really.
Back a little.
The main thing is that all this space here below the movement is used for the mainspring. So we don't have a proper barrel. The barrel is the main plate, and this is one trick to get a very long high power reserve is to have a huge volume for the mainspring, and this is how I was able to.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you need a very long mainspring as well.
Exact. So you need a stiff and long mainspring, and this is how it comes.
Wow.
That's a 3 meters long mainspring. I'm gonna try to open it from the ring, okay? I hope I will not get injured. This is just to show you how long it is.
Okay. You hope it will not get injured, because anybody who thinks watchmaking is a safe career is you're working with lathes and pieces of steel and metal that are subjected to very, very high tensions.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I did that very badly because now it's a mess. You look at that.
No!
It's a big mess, but it's not a problem actually because I have to clean it. But you can imagine how long it is, right? So it's a 3 meters long spring.
So from 3 meters to 45 millimeters.
To make it in the correct way, but still, you can imagine how long it is, right?
That is the maddest
from
thing
3
I've
meters
ever
to
seen.
45 centimeters. Sorry, 45 centimeters. Yeah, altogether. So you squeezed into a very, very small space.
It's squeezed in the main plate.
Plate.
I have the main plate here. So that's the main plate of the movement, and all this mess here has to go here inside. Okay, that's the bottom part of the main plate.
And with that trick,
actually, it's much easier with the ring because we just push the spring into the movement thanks to the ring.
Of course. And with that trick, Stefan managed to achieve a 1,000 hours power reserve. That in a modern watchmaking, terms, is definitely impressive. I think Stefan has a Guinness record for that as well, or is certainly a record. Why was Stefan so obsessed with power reserve, Johnny and Stefan?
Well, the power reserve goes back to I think the inspiration was the Ebdomos, which had the 8-day power reserve, and but that was only that was the mass produced piece. I think Irene also created a watch for the Pope.
Correct.
Back in the was it early 1920s or even before that?
In 1888.
1888.
Yes.
And this was the real inspiration for Honoris one, yes?
Correct, yes. Because as an engineer, I was always looking for huge power reserve in watches. Even when I worked for Patek Philippe and for Ulysse Nardin. And when I read an article here in that book about the Pope watch, that was how it was called in my family. For me, it was quite incredible because Irene Aubry had made 30 patents. I have made 30 patents, so I'm an inventor for 30 systems. And my focus was really always the increase of the power reserve. And here, it's a 40-day power reserve pocket watch.
In 1888.
And he was really passionate by no, sorry, he was passionate by increasing the power reserve, and so do I. So it's quite logical for me to rebuild that pocket watch, but into a wristwatch.
It's quite a claim, isn't it, to have created a watch for the Pope of the time, and I don't even know which Pope. My mother will
Well, no, it's an old story. It was the Pope Leon the 13th. But anyway, it's not a matter of the Pope. This is just to explain that it was an important masterpiece for him, for Irénée Aubry. So we had the mass production with the Hebdomass watch, and then the masterpiece was with the Pope watch. Okay.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So.
And what I did, I used the same construction that Irénée invented, But then I set my own specification. I wanted a wristwatch that was wearable, less than 43 millimeters of diameter and less than 12 millimeters of thickness. And this is how I started the project. So I wanted to use the same construction, but onto a wristwatch.
Excellent. Yeah. And so what then, how did the process go when you decided to create the watch?
When was it, you mean?
Yes. How? What was the deciding moment when you were sitting?
To be honest, I think it's linked to the COVID period because I was alone not alone, but I was working in my.
You were thinking too much, like we were all doing.
That's possible. I was working at home in my own office. And then I thought, I was starting to, and actually I read, I had that article from a grand cousin in south of France. He sent me that article. And when I read that article, for me, it was like a revelation. I thought, I have to do that again onto a wristwatch. And if he was able to do that high power reserve at his time, with 40 days, I should be able to do a wristwatch. So it was like a challenge, more or less.
Of course.
Also, because you kept it very very comfortable in terms of the sizes, in terms of the wearability. Johnny and I had the pleasure to see the watch in real life at Geneva Watch Days. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about 42 millimeters case with a thickness of only 12 millimeters. So you managed to contain this really, really great technical achievement in wearable measurements.
Exact, yes. And what I did, I moved the movement upside down because in the original piece, the big mainspring was just below the dial, and here the mainspring goes on the back side of the watch, right? Because I wanted to show some gears above the dial and so on to have a modern touch. So it's my aim was to have a classical design, but with a modern touch, and I hope you can see that in the.
This is really well executed. I'm not a big fan of just simple partial see-throughs from the dial. Here you have created a sculptural architecture that actually comes out and above, beyond the dial itself. I don't know, Johnny, if you agree, but there's a fundamental difference. Here the dial is part of the structure and it's not just a window to kind of sneakily appreciate parts of the gearing and the workings.
Absolutely. No, I was actually thinking, Pietro, if Stéphane could talk us through what we're actually looking at there on the dial. So starting off with the winding mechanism.
Yes. So the winding mechanism is a bit complex. It's called a differential system because we have to go in both directions. We have to rewind the mainspring in anti-clockwise, and then it has to give the energy in the other direction. So this is why we need a differential system. That's all the gears that you see at 12 o'clock on the dial side.
Yes, and that actually the big wheel is being turned when you rotate the bezel, when you have the winding function activated. Yes,
correct. And
maybe we can show it on the. We can show a little bit also on the model that you have there, Stéphane.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
because I think the dynamics of what happened in that large model that you have are quite fascinating. So yeah, if you can illustrate.
Yeah, so that's a big size model of the differential. So all this part that we see at 12 o'clock is a differential. So you have to imagine that's the center of the watch here with the mainspring that is placed in the middle. And then what I will do, thanks to, let's say my hand is the bezel, so I will rewind the watch.
We can see clearly there.
This one turns clockwise, right? And then that's the winding function, and then that's the normal function. So it changes its direction in order to give the energy to the gear train and then to the tourbillon. Maybe you can do it again. You see the mainspring will be wound. This is what we call the ratchet wheel in the middle.
Yeah.
And then when I let it go, it changes its direction, and then it will give the energy to the movement. So
can you explain on the watch that I see you have here? So we see the bezel that you can obviously operate, and then so what is the crown doing, and what is the pusher at 2 o'clock doing?
The bezel is used to rewind the watch.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry, we have some reflection.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, this way. And then when you have this pressure at 2 o'clock with the column wheel. So if I push it once on it, then you see a small gold dot that will appear, and it means we are in the setting mode. So I can set the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then when I push it once again, the small dot will appear in black, and it means we are in the winding mode or the neutral mode.
So you can operate the bezel at that point.
The bezel, or you can just leave it as it is, for the neutral function of the watch.
Yeah. Johnny, I'm wondering how you're going to keep track of 1,000 hours power reserve. Where are you going to? I'm sure you're not going to count the time passing.
Well, you could of course have put that, Joe. Like you would normally find that function, that display on the dial side, but no, not on the Honoris one. Instead of having a tiny little display for your power reserve, if you've got 1,000 hours of power reserve, you might as well have a 1,000-hour display on the case back, as big as the power reserve. So that's the feature that we're looking at here, Stéphane. Yes,
that's correct. Yeah, actually, I've started to design the movement with. At the beginning, I wanted to have the power reserve indication on the dial side, but to be honest, it was too small to indicate the 1,000 hours. If you have between 0 and 42 hours, it's quite easy because you can have like 4 digits. You say 10 or 12, 24, and so on. But for 1,000 hour indication, it was not so easy to place it on the dial side. So then I've decided to use the back of the watch because I could realize a very big ring that indicates the power reserve you still get into the watch. And this is what you see on the screen right now.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
So it's very incredible.
Yeah. When we heard about this, Pietro, I remember sending a link to you. Go, wow, have you seen this?
Absolutely.
It really blew us away. The whole.
Yeah, it's for me. It's the obviously the watch itself looks spectacular, but then like I always say this, but when you're looking at a piece of contemporary art, that could say or not say much because sometimes they are too striking to be understood. But when you start digging in the history, the legacy that we have explained, the technical innovations that Stéphane has been involved with that have taken him to this point at mastering all of these concepts, mechanical concepts that he has integrated in this timepiece, then it becomes really, really compelling, the whole thing. I think, Stéphane, you have a motto, if I'm not mistaken. You say, no point in change if there is no improvement. So you have taken the history behind you, but you've put a lot of yourself and you have added to that to create something that was really, really new. Yeah, sure. And it's not always easy, to be honest, in the watchmaking to improve always the watches, but still, I think here it's a way to have a very wearable watch, a classical watch. You might think you can use it maybe once a month and it's still working. If you want to wear it every Friday evening for a special event, then it has a very long power reserve, and then you can take it again and then wear it again. And it will work. So that was my goal,
to have something very classical, but with a useful feature, the long power reserve. Yes.
How big is the engineering and making duty and challenge, Stéphane? Are you on your own? Do you have other watchmakers? How many pieces do you think you will be able to produce in a year, let's say? Can you give us a little bit of perspective on that?
Yeah, so I've created the company last year in September, so exactly 1 year ago. And I'm alone in the company, so I'm the engineer plus the founder and everything. But
Yes.
I'm not the watchmaker. I work with local watchmakers here in Neuchâtel who assembled the watch for me, let's say. And of course, we are very close. The one watchmaker is my cousin, and the other one is a small independent watchmaker that was his workshop in his living room. So you see, we are still very small. We are an independent company. And my idea about the production, because it was your question, is to produce about 10 watches per year. Everything is...
yeah.
Yes, maybe we can talk about the finishing. You see the central bridge here.
Yep.
It's very, very thin and very skeletonized in the middle and so on. So everything is finished by hand. So we have to angle and then...
yeah, we see the beveling and we see the interior angles as well of the flying tourbillon bridge on top as well, which I love the shape of that bridge as well.
Right. So everything is finished by hand. Even the big wheel, I called it the wheel of time. Every arm, it has 16 arms. Every arm is angled by hand. So it's a huge work of finishing. So this is why we will not produce so many watches per year.
Yeah, of course. Really, really good. So there are 2 versions available. If we can confirm that, one is in yellow gold, one is in white gold. So 10 pieces per year is not limited. Do you have a limitation in mind for the future, Stéphane? Do you see in your head producing 20, producing 50, or do you have other projects that are coming up?
Of course, I'm a creative engineer, so I have other ideas already, and this is let's say the core collection, because even if it's very small, the idea is to have the standard pieces in yellow gold and in white gold with the black enamel dial and the white enamel dial, and then I think I will launch some very exclusive series with different dials or different finishing and so on.
So, Johnny, I'm wondering if the ancestor of this piece was called the Pope watch, how this one will be remembered as in years to come. But I guess the story of this watch has been written now as we speak and as we leave.
Well, it is an extremely confident debut for a brand, because we're pitching this right in among the very high end of independent watchmaking, of indeed watchmaking in general. But it's got so many things going for it, Pietro. So it is absolutely recognizable from 100 paces. It is the dominant features on the dial side are really, really impressive, beautifully finished. I was just looking at that image while we were talking about it, and we were looking at the bridge there, and just how as the bridge meets in the center, how those gaps are ever narrower, and to get in there and to do that standard of polishing, it's a beautifully sculpted feature on the watch, I think, the bridge. So it's a remarkable piece all around, I think, really impressive.
I wanted like a piece of art, it's, for me, it's a piece of art in the engineering way, plus I wanted something in the aesthetical way as well. So, and both wearable, so I hope that if we see that watch in 10 years or in 20 years, it will still be very wearable and still very elegant.
Yeah. Oh, I think it has that. It has what I would consider to have that timeless style about it. The design is something that it's as you said at the very beginning of our conversation. It is where tradition meets contemporary design, and both in design and mechanically. And it's amazing. What has the response been?
The response is great. I'm glad, you know, because I think the people understood correctly what I wanted to do, to achieve, you know, use the story that is in my roots, in my genes, and then do something modern with the story, not something classic in appearance, but something that is modern in the technical aspects. And I think all the response from the journalists and from the people in watchmaking, and even people from out of the watchmaking world were very enthusiastic about the model.
Yeah, so which is why if you dig around to anyone that is obviously following this broadcast, you can find a fantastic report by Watches TV, for example, and there's also articles that have appeared on Watch Pro, on Monochrome I've seen as well. So if you want to dig into all the details, these are very valuable sources. And of course, the limited edition will list the Honoris 1 very soon on our website. We are in the making with that. You'll find all the specifications and obviously the review by our editor, Johnny. And the piece will be at 148,000 Swiss francs, if I'm not mistaken. That's the price that is announced. It is, of course, comprising of all the engineering, the mechanical features, and the finishing, last but not last, which is absolutely extraordinary. So we are looking forward to hear from you what you think about Stéphane's work, and we are here to answer every possible question. If you're watching this after the show, you can send your comments or your questions to me or to Johnny or to Stéphane, and we'll get back to you very soon. And Stéphane, it's an honor, you know, talking about Honoris 1. It is an honor to have witnessed this debut with you and to have you as one of the first live. And you have some more surprises to something.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you that I found the original document of Haute-Rive, you know, Fabrique d'Horlogerie Haute-Rive.
Fantastic. So and for those that don't know, Haute-Rive is a village on the shore of Lake Neuchâtel.
Right, you know, it's in Chélebar. Chélebar is a very small place, a small village close to the Lake Neuchâtel. And Haute-Rive here, it was, in French we say a lieu-dit. It was a very small area in Chélebar, and I think because the lake, you know, was going up and down, and the workshop was a bit higher, so it was not floated by the lake. And then he called the workshop Haute-Rive at that time, and this is the inspiration that I had.
Excellent.
Very good, brilliant. I feel that there's much more to talk about, so we'll try to do this again. Stéphane keeps us updated on your developments, and Johnny, thank you for helping me to co-host such a great guest. We get particularly excited when we get to witness debuts in particular, and this really seems to be a very solid one.
Absolutely, it was one of the pieces that I was earmarked. That I absolutely did not want to miss when I went to Geneva at the beginning of the month, and it's still it is one of those watches that still makes me go wow, even having been familiar with it now for over a month. It's so it's so different, and yet it is. How can you not love it? You know, it's the way I look at it. It is an amazing accomplishment, and a very confident.
All my art and my soul are in that model. So
your DNA.
That, yes.
Yeah, your DNA, your family, everything is in there. Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Stéphane, thank you very much for your time. Johnny, thank you as well. I know you're very busy this week with the organization of the International Festival of Time, which will which will finally debut tomorrow. And the doors will be open from Friday in Waterford, Ireland. So good luck with that, Johnny. I'll be there as well, and I can't wait.
Many thanks. Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot, Pedro. So.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Stéphane, thank you as well. It's been great to have that conversation and to discover a little bit of the story and the about Haute-Rive, and wish you the very, very best of success, and look forward to seeing future creations from you.
Great. Thanks a lot for hosting me. I hope you enjoyed the time.
Definitely.
Thank you, and see you soon.
You have the time. You have 1,000 hours. So next time we will do a marathon talk.
We can do that. It's an idea.
Yeah. You get to my age, I don't know if 1,000 hours might be ambitious, you know. So
you can just put a sticker with your face, Johnny, and just leave it there like that. And,
I wish I had thought of that.
Thank you for your time. Bye bye.
Take care, gentlemen.
Bye.
All the best. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.